And five, let's get going again. Axiom Tax Resolution Group bringing you the show tonight. All these frustrating things we're reading about in the news, you pay for it right out of your paycheck. That's not even a metaphor. Look at your paycheck. Do y'all ever look at the gross pay anymore? We have become so conditioned as Americans just to look at the take-home pay. I wish we didn't even have that phrase. I wish I wish we had to write our taxes on one day a year. They didn't take it out and sneak it from us all year long, and then you had to. If Americans had to write that check, the whole check in April, we'd be throwing rocks in the streets and fixing things. But they sort of surreptitiously sneak it in there and sneak it away from us. And then if you don't get it right, they make you guess at what you think you owe. And if you get it wrong, they'll come after you with everything the federal government has with their big, giant, confusing tax code and all of the rules. And they'll try to seize your life, not your breath of life, but everything that moves in your life till they get their money. Look, Congress years ago passed laws to help you settle. They passed programs to give you some relief. They passed protection so you didn't have to be harassed. But most people don't know what those are, and you shouldn't. I mean, we can barely figure out the taxes in the first place. Perry Cronin at Axiom Tax Resolution Group just happens to be an absolute expert, one of the foremost in the country, and we're lucky to have him right here with us in Alabama to sit down with us face to face and deal with this stuff and get you a settlement, a lot of cases for a whole lot less than you owe, and get this behind you. Payback plans, all the program opportunities, and make the harassment stop so you can think with a clear head. And the expert advice of Perry Cronin and Axiom Tax Resolution Group, 205tax.com, 205tax.com. The phone number, if you just want to call him straight up, 205-872-1100, Axiom Tax Resolution Group. All right, let's go. I'm going to go straight back to the phones. I want to pick up the flock camera stuff here in a minute, kind of get that debate going. And of course, breaking news, we just heard AJ tell me about it in my ear. Frank Beard, drummer for ZZ Top, just passed away. We're losing a lot of musicians, it seems like, this year. That guy was like a metronome. If I had to quickly say something, his drumming was kind of like Mike Campbell, who played guitar for Tom Petty. He didn't overdo anything. He just kept that driving beat for all those hit songs, especially through the 70s and 80s. In his music and all of that had a huge influence on the lives of people my age. Dusty Hill and now Frank Beard. There's not much left of ZZ Top. Sheena is on line 3. Let's get Sheena in here, and then we'll move on to some other stuff. Sheena, what's up?
Hey, I just wanted to call and tell you how much I appreciate your show. Whenever I was growing up, listening to talk radio was like making my ears bleed because it was just a monotone. I never could understand it. I never could follow along with it. But then I got in the car. My mother had you on, and I was like, oh, my gosh, I hate talk radio. She's like, just listen. You might like it. And so after listening, I'm like, he actually explains it in a way that you can follow along. And then when you and AJ get to talking and cutting up, I mean, it's hilarious. So I just want to tell you I love what y'all do, and I love that you just make it in plain English where we can understand and follow along.
That's a huge compliment. I do appreciate that so much. Thank you for taking the time to hold and tell us that today.
Oh, you're welcome. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you. That's very kind. My face is red. AJ, is your face red?
Yes.
They make us blush sometimes. No, I think one of the biggest compliments people give the show is how we can break things down into English. And you know why it's just good communication. But why I do it that way is I've been in a lot of boardrooms, policy meetings. I've hung out with lawyers, and people overtalk things. They do it on purpose to sound smart. They use cheap $2 words and change the context of things, give half truths. And long before I got back into radio and commentary, I'd had enough of that kind of stuff. I thought, who's just talking to people? And here's the thing they don't want you to know. And this is where I hope, if there's anything that will be left as any kind of legacy of this show, because who knows in our business how long we'll even be here. But if there's anything that I would want to leave as a legacy, is that we did help you understand, and we broke through that barrier that they put up on purpose so you don't follow along. They want you to be confused and tune out. That's why they debate budget bills the way they do. If they put it in English and you understood it, you'd get your pitchfork and your torch out and go downtown. But they get away with this mind-numbing stuff. And what's helping them, the people in power, there's a case going on today that's all in the news about Meta and Facebook and Instagram. Several states have sued them. And I think we're coming to, I'm not sure if there's a jury deliberation, but the case is back in the news. There have been weeks and weeks of testimony. These are two states that seem to have the upper hand. There are several other states getting lined up to also sue these companies. And then you've also heard these ads that run on our air here, where that appears to be a private sort of class action group looking for children that have been harmed. Now, somebody did some commentary on this today, and it's the same thing I said to y'all weeks and weeks ago when all this started. It 100% reminds me of the tobacco lawsuits. There was a winning mix. There was a winning formula there. Trial lawyers got filthy rich on it. Some states got some money, but the states got together and got a settlement out of the tobacco industry, who, in addition to paying out these lump sum payments all over the country, they also changed a lot of the things they did in terms of marketing to children. And it's a very, very similar accusations, very similar pattern to the people that are pursuing this stuff. And so what I'm getting at with that is, while we're trying to, as I was talking about, us trying to give clarification and simplification to complicated things for folks, because, I mean, people are busy. Even people that run high-end, I mean, you're super intelligent and highly educated people. You don't have time to follow the minutia of the stuff. You're running your businesses, running your practices, getting stuff done every day. So to have it boiled down for you and simplified in a world full of absolute noise, I think still has some value. And I'm going to keep doing the show that way. It's just kind of how we've always tried to do it. Now, I get a little bombastic too, and I can be less than calm, shall we say. But I try to keep it as steady as we can so we can walk through things every day. And I'll give you my take on it. That's what you're here for. And you're always welcome to give us yours at 545-9950. That's our phone number. The reason I brought up Meta in this lawsuit is, while we're just so distracted with mindless stuff nowadays, and some people are straight up addicted to it, and then there's the cloud and the noise that's created with all the false information that's on there and the algorithms that once you click on a fake story, it's going to lead you to more fake stories. We're just down these rabbit holes. People are becoming paranoid and narcissistic and neurotic. As a society, I'm watching it happen to groups of people at the same time. And there are issues right now in the news about children being addicted to this stuff, but it's the adults too. You know, here's my theory, and this is probably very convicting for some of you, I hope. We're putting Meta up against the wall, and they should be, for the way they program their platform. But the main reason a lot of parents can't get their kids off the tech, can I be real with y'all? Because the parents are addicted to their own tech. You don't have time to waste spending quality time with your kids and making them turn it off, because you're on it too. You're worried about their development, and you're like, well, I'm old, I'm already developed. That's true, but it's making you crazy as well. So we're in a distracted place. We're in the information age, and sometimes I think we've got the least informed people probably in the history of this country. Look at these goofy little bits that Fox will do every now and then. They'll send a reporter out onto a beach with a bunch of alleged college kids who can't do fractions, who can't write cursive, who can't speak the King's English, who somehow are still in college. And if they're at Penn State, they're cocaine dealers. Now, I guess you could say, who says these kids aren't willing to work hard? They put together a whole business there at the fraternity. But yeah, we're just in a weird place with that. So if there's any way for at least 4 hours a day, we can slow down enough to talk about these things and noodle through them. And, you know, there's an old saying that there are no dumb questions. That's not true. I've heard a lot of dumb questions, but we don't mind them. Even if you're innocently just needing something explained, if I can, I'll do it. If not, I guarantee you somebody in this audience can break these specific things down for you. And I find myself at times having to get up to speed on things like these flock cameras, which I've been trying to shove into the show, and we're going to do right after this next break. So let's get to that. Let's talk about FloorTech Concrete Coatings real quick. That is a wonderful company based in Birmingham that's going to change a multi-billion-dollar industry. Let me tell you how. They just came up with a better mousetrap. They came up with a better product. Kevin intentionally looked at that whole industry category and went, how is it that a product that sucks this bad can be a multi-billion-dollar industry? The answer is people want their garage floors to look good and be easy to maintain. They want to put a coating on it and make it nice. But the products up to date have all pretty much failed. They fade, they peel, they yellow, which means the whole color after exposed to UV light is going to even change on you. You go to all that trouble to pick out your particular shade, and then it's a whole nother deal after it's been applied. So they went to the lab, literally went into a lab and did some research, found out it's impurities in the products that are making them that way. So what did they do? Simple enough, took the impurities out. So they've got a pure product that they put out there. They call it FloorTech. You've got 100% control over the customization of the color, the way it's going to look. They'll do exactly what you order, come out and do the install themselves, and then they'll guarantee it for the life of your home. Did I just say that? Yeah, I did. The life of the home. They know their product is better. So if you want to improve raw concrete anywhere you have it, a lot of people are going to put this in garages, even retail spaces, pool decks, patios, sidewalks. There are different applications for it. Y'all check out FloorTech. You spell it with a K, T-E-K, FloorTechCoatings.com. Get them at FloorTechCoatings.com. Back here in a minute. let's talk about Lonnie's Furniture Company. We're going to be there on Friday. Love to see y'all if you're up around North Jefferson County and anywhere near Kimberly. Pop in, look around at the deals. They've got a really strong Labor Day sale going. I guess Labor Day is kind of that day. It's the sort of national stereotype of Labor Day is a mattress sale. Boy, do they have a mattress sale. It's natural. It's sort of, I think it's called the National Mattress Sales Event that they're participating in with all these high-end manufacturers. And, well, they've got every brand you can imagine just over on the mattress side of the store. Their bedding department is bigger than a lot of whole bedding stores. I mean, you'll go to these strip mall bedding stores. Their bedding area is way bigger than that. They've just got a lot of selection and a lot of space for it. I got a Stearns and Foster from them a few years back, and I love that thing because I took my time to figure out what was best. You can do the same thing. They don't mind. Stretch out, kick your shoes off, and see what you think. And they've got a lot for you to compare right there in one spot. So they are the mattresses, and then store-wide, they've got specific sales on certain items. Too many to even talk about on the radio. Then there's the buy more, save more sale. I've got to make sure I say that correctly. So based on the volume, the dollar volume that you buy, your percentage savings is going to go up. Let them explain it to you when you get in the door. And here's the even better part. You don't have to wait till Labor Day weekend. Some of y'all got plans. You're going to the beach one final time or whatever. They've already started the sale. You can get on over there this weekend and get going before football season gets here. Get that TV room set up. Buy you a bunch of lazy boys and make a movie room. Do whatever. Spruce up the house. Update things. Odds and ends. Sometimes just changing out the rugs and the lamps can overhaul a whole room. And you've got Arlene there with her expert advice too. It's called Lonnie's Furniture Company. They're off exit 280 right there in Kimberly, Alabama, North Jefferson County. Y'all go see them starting now all the way through Labor Day and take advantage of these incredible deals. All right, let me go ahead and shove the flock thing in here because I've been trying to study up on all the arguments, and there's just so many cases to be made of straight up abuse of these cameras. Now, do they help police track down criminals in an emergency situation? It appears they do. But what we're finding out there in the wild is in some cases, and it depends on the city that's using them and how they're deployed, they can have a 40% fail rate. Some are reporting even higher than that, where they give false positives to people. Next thing you know, you got cops chasing people down thinking they've got their suspect cornered. And it's somebody that has no idea why the police are on their porch or showing up at their houses. There's a story today. I started collecting these things because they were coming one after the other. There's a Florida police officer that was just arrested. He used flock camera information to track his estranged wife 717 times. We've had cases like that reported in Alabama. Usually where it's going wrong is these officers and the Punani situation. It just is. It's spouses, it's stalky stuff from people that have access to this data that's collected out there in the public without a warrant. Your Fourth Amendment rights are just up against the wall right now. Is it both stories correct? Yeah, I think, and there have been plenty of examples where little kids have been saved by quick response and the police been able to tail suspect vehicles around. And police are going to make mistakes, and they're populated with human beings, and things are going to go wrong. But the stories are piling up. I had one last week that I never got to talk to y'all about. There was a TV show called Bad Monkey. Sadly, I have to admit to you that I watched the entire series. I started watching it. It had Vince Vaughn in it, and I think he's funny. So I started watching it. Setting the Keys. I love the Keys. I couldn't quit watching it. It's about one of the dumbest things I've ever watched, but I watched all of it. Don't you just need stupid time sometimes when it comes to your TV time? It's like, I don't want to think. Put something really dumb on. I don't want to watch a documentary right now. And it was Bad Monkey. Well, a cop down in the Keys almost did the same thing. He was hired as a security guard on the set of this TV show. And I guess he got the hots for one of the actresses on the show. And he used Flock to track her down in the Keys. And he wound up getting into a chase with this woman's vehicle, almost caused several wrecks. He was later arrested. He's getting a slap on the wrist. There's a story here today out of South Carolina where a 24-year-old cop was canned for using, same thing as the one out of Texas, using the Flock camera to run the ex's license plate 166 times. This is a female cop, a young cop, 24 years old, new on the force. It got the better of them, and so they did that. Think of the things we don't know about. Think of the surveillance that's happened, the information that's gleaned that we'll never know about because they haven't been caught. And I'll promise you, it's only going to get worse. My inclination right now, despite the potential safety benefits of this thing, is I can rarely tell you in my lifetime any moment where they tell us that the government tells us it's for our own good, it's for our own safety, and they did not wind up abusing it, and we wildly regretted the choice in trusting any form of government to do right by us with these things. I rarely have seen that. The Patriot Act, after 9/11, the whole country shocked. Government says we need more power. We need this giant agency. We need better surveillance tools. Now they're turning them on us. They turned them on the President of the United States. They turned them on Trump. The COVID shots. Take the shot. It'll keep you from getting it. And then you get it anyway. And they're like, well, it won't keep you from getting it, but it'll keep you from spreading it. And then it keeps spreading. It doesn't have any side effects. Trust us. Now all these side effects are popping up, still popping up. The truth's coming out. We never should have trusted them. Ever. Should have trusted them, even though they were forcing their way. And there are many, many other issues. I'm for the police. I'm for helping the police, assisting the police. I am pro-cop. But a lot of cops are growing concerned about this stuff too. They're seeing what's being done with it. And basically, the biggest problem is you don't have an option about how your data is collected when you move about. You can't opt out. So people say one of the arguments is, well, you go in a Walmart and there's 300 cameras in a Walmart. Well, it's your choice to go in the Walmart or not. You got a choice there. If you go into somebody's private property and they have surveillance cameras, you made the choice to go to that private property. But in this case, you're just going about your life, and the government is sucking data into this system with every move that's made, and it's creating patterns and profiles of people, keeping that data that's, again, they didn't file. It's warrantless. You don't even know they have it. So how could that be dangerous? Well, there are multiple ways. Here's an example, and then we'll get to the break. Spirit Airlines just went out of business because it was just a crappy airline and whatever. And the Democrats sort of forced the issue, and they went out of business. Thank you, Elizabeth Warren. But remember when she blocked the merger? They wanted to merge with another discount airline. So they're selling off the planes and the pieces of it. And along comes one of the big IT AI companies. I think it's OpenAI. They just acquired all the data from Spirit Airlines. Think of the data an airline collects. Why? They need as much raw data as they can to ingest into their AI system to get their AI where it's all knowing. I firmly believe these flock cameras are going to feed that system one day. Sometimes this data is kept locally, but I'm not so sure yet. There's a lot for us to discuss with these things. Back here in just a minute. All right, y'all, 334. Let's kick it. Hueytown Pawn up next. Tommy has been busy as a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest especially since these new rulings came out. The whole thing with the suppressors in the last few days. They're one of the shops that does have product that is part of the food chain from that ruling. As we continue to wait for the ATF to give firm clearance on other brands, other models, other parts of the supply chain. So it's confusing out there. And look, y'all don't raise hell at your own favorite gun store if they're not willing to step up and do it. I'm just telling you, there's a conflicting lawyer advice from some of these companies. But Hueytown feels full tilt boogie in their association with the plaintiffs in the case. So they do have a few of those left. Y'all tried to clean Tommy out this weekend, and he was just overwhelmed. He reached out to me today, too, and said, y'all are just wiping out the AR-12 shotguns. And I'm telling you, I don't know what it is about these things. They're just kind of badass looking. They got the AR features, you know, the rails and the places to do the add-ons. Like, what are you going to put a scope on a shotgun? Somebody will probably do that. They do have sights, it tickled me when I looked at it. They got metal sights on them. I asked Tommy, I said, why they got metal sights on a shotgun? He goes, man, I don't know. And so what I would tell you is, because I picked one up from him, I think they're both stupid and exceptionally cool, because I'm a dude and we think that way. There is no reason you necessarily need one of these, but isn't that true of all gun ownership? Maybe you just want one for giggles or to look good on the gun shelf or in the gun safe. They're only $279 right now. These G-Force AR-12s, really cool. Mine is the sort of desert color. Some people call it coyote, not the black version, but the desert version. And he's got them right now at Hueytown Pawn. They almost sold. They sold several of them yesterday. About half of them got wiped out, but he's got a couple of dozen coming in. Hopefully, they were shipped today. I'll have them later in the week. So if you want to go by there this weekend, good gift giving too, and hunting season stuff. I know we're getting close enough for y'all to start thinking about it. They've got a nice selection of outdoor stuff. In addition, and I don't talk about this as much, but Hueytown, because they do have a pawn license. And they still got some of the businesses still pawn business, but they do have a nice selection of things people have brought in, some pre-owned stuff. You might be looking for something antique or something kind of old school, or Tommy can keep an eye out for you as well. They're good like that. This is a great little shop. Get to know them and comparison shop with some of the places that you're used to going to by heading over to Hueytown, going to Brook Lane Drive. It's Hueytown Pawn over there in, guess what? Hueytown. It was good to hang out with Tommy and Adam, all those guys last week. Adam's wife, Jessica, I think she's the busiest person in the store, doing a lot of the paperwork and getting stuff done. It was a good visit last week. Okay, let me see what I had a couple more thoughts on the flock thing, then I want to pivot because we got some other sort of long-range stories on the show today. Look, the thing about what's coming with this, I've heard 1819 News. They've got a couple stories up today. Andrea has a piece on one of our legislators that's now growing concern. I read about a district in Texas that just got rid of them. I don't think they want the liability to have custody of this data. The flock representatives will tell you that these things, one of them made a statement, it's a good spin. He said that really our client is the whole public at large. They're trying to, by partnering with these law agencies, they're trying to protect the public. So he's trying to make us all the client and pushing the safety features. And if you're going to be honest about the debate, yes, these things do some pretty cool things for the police. But it's the abuse of them, the lack of restrictions, the fact that this is third-party evidence gathering and not a government official going to a judge to get a warrant to investigate you for whatever reason. You can't, long constitutional standards, and I'm not trying to play Matlock over here, but long constitutional standards are you are not allowed to basically do what's known as fishing expeditions. You can't look for you got to start with a crime. You can't look at the person and try to find a crime. Does that make sense? You can't just surveil everybody, gather data on them until you suspect a crime and use that. Well, I guess right now you can, but theoretically, that's not how the Constitution is supposed to work. There has to be when somebody gets a warrant on you, and again, they abused this with Trump, some of the officials around him after the first term, they were just trying to find a crime on a person not have a crime to investigate. Does that make sense? So in this case, in all cases, they have to name a specific crime if you're going to do a search warrant. Believe me, I've seen many search warrants. Been on some raids with search warrants with the cops. You've got to tell a judge what the crime was. You've got to tell them specifically what evidence you're looking for that you suspect is, especially in a domicile or in a vehicle in places like that where you need warrants under certain circumstances. You've got to specify what you're looking for, and you've got to have a scope for the search. You can't just say, I don't like Fred. I'm going to toss his house to see if I can find some bag of weed. But I don't know if he has weed, but if I find something on him, I'm going to arrest him. That's the opposite of what the Constitution expects of us. There are so many cases also being reported of false positives would be the best way to put it, where people are, there's one lady, I watched the video a couple of days ago. She goes out on her porch, and there are cops with their guns out that came to her house suspecting that she was involved in a crime because the flock camera tagged her vehicle. And that creates another legal dilemma where she had to come up with an alibi to prove she wasn't on the flock camera. Let me just put it this way. She was trying to prove her own innocence, which is also antithetical. It's the opposite of the basic principles of our legal system. It has to start with the crime, then the burden of proof's on the state, and then that gets to the trial level, and hope if they've got the evidence and beyond a reasonable doubt of a jury of 12 in the criminal cases. And that was the standard set by the founders of the Constitution to make it hard for the government to run you over. Back to my original speech about too much government. And so this is the opposite of that. The camera tells them you're a suspect in something that may or may not have happened. And they're going to, you got to prove you weren't on your own front porch. You got dinner cooking on the oven and you're surrounded by police and you've got no clue as to why they're outside. And so that's starting to happen more too. And these reports are often false. The camera had the wrong car. You can't do dragnets like that. Maybe there's a future way where you can have this technology where it's not constantly on. And only under certain circumstances can the cops access the real-time data after an event. But then again, where does the data sit? Who has access to it? And why do we have a system where an independent private contractor can put these things up, gather this data? They claim they don't own it, they don't hold it, they just provide the tech, the local police hold it, and then you've got this myriad of police agencies that all have different policies and different ways of addressing the data that they've been sold or have bought from this company, right? And so and then some random cop can stalk his ex-wife with it and type in there and get access to it and stalk somebody that they're trying to track down. They saw some cutie on the sidewalk, decided to follow her around and stalk her like it's a surveillance society that I don't think Orwell could have even conceived. And then there's that, what I was telling you about the Flock CEO. Apparently there's a stakeholder type meeting. My understanding is it's taking place in New York City. And Flock, while on one hand they'll project to the public that we're just all about public safety and transparency, we're just trying to provide these tools for police, which I do think part of the story is correct. But they won't tell anybody where the meeting is. It's supposed to be for the public, but they're keeping all that secret. So we've got to work through this, just like the data centers, just like everything else, just like this meta lawsuit stuff. Tech is overwhelming us right now. We're so surrounded by it and invaded by it. This country and the whole world, for that matter, is just going to be unrecognizable if we keep going down this path and we don't put the Constitution first. Y'all, it's timeless. It protects us. It's our shield. It's what tells us, lets us as just peon citizens, just regular old plebeians out here, to tell the government to pound sand. You can't do that to me. Now, speaking of, I was just talking about Hueytown Pawn and the guns. On the positive side of some of those protections, there have been some new rulings today. There have been a sequence of Second Amendment, either lower court or appellate court rulings, We've talked a lot about the suppressors. There was another one today on the whole concept of ghost guns. Remember when Biden came out with this concept of ghost guns, like this is a Scooby-Doo exercise? There is no such thing as a ghost gun. It's just a made-up scary term. People can make their own guns. There's no ghost gun, but they decided to do it anyway because the anti-gun lobby is constantly aggressive. Well, the judge tossed all that out. The rules were a violation of both the Second and the Fifth Amendment, the way the rules were set up by the Biden team. They were capricious, they were arbitrary, they were overreaching. And finally, in some of these courts, we're getting some rational rulings that look at the interest of the American citizens ahead of all this other nonsense regulatory stuff. And so there are a couple things on that. Well, I got squirreled anyway. We still got plenty of things to talk about. I got to get on to this Nike story too. This is fascinating. We'll talk about it on the other side. All American Metals next up here on the show. AA-metal.com, AA-metal.com. These guys are good, man. This is a steel company, steel men that go back to the 1960s, two families, total patriots, and there's not a thing they don't know about the steel business. They have their own factories right here in town. They produce all of their products for your buildings and your projects right here around Birmingham, deliver it to you on their trucks, do the design work for you in-house, fully integrated. And they don't trust the supply chain to screw up their flow, so they control it themselves. They even took me to one of their factories where they make the little 90-degree clips that kind of hold some of the pieces together. They could easily order those from China. They decided, no, we're going to make those. We're going to make those and control that. So they're constantly making these things and having them ready to go into the packages. That's quality control. That's local support. You get more customization. Their turnaround is faster than their competitors because they're smaller and more nimble, and they're going to get their delivery to you better on everything. Y'all reach out to them if you got a project. Pole barn, shed, warehouse, big warehouse, little warehouse, retail build-outs, mini storage. They do all that. They'll help you design it and get it going. Good folks over there. It's AA-metal.com. If you're going to build a steel building, do it with All American. It's AA-metal.com. Back here in just a minute. All right, y'all. Pro Lift Garage Doors up next on. We got so many great folks that can help you with your home. Mike Miller is the proprietor there and the 100% expert on anything with garage doors. Now, this is commercial and residential. You got big RV barn like I have, or you've got a commercial project with a big roll-up door, Mike's on it. Man, springs break, motors wear out, parts get damaged. It's a mechanical thing. Some of the rollers, they can just wear down over time. Some of you just have one that's just too loud. You'd like a nice, more modern, quiet garage door opener system. That is something they can fix for you very, very quickly at ProLift Garage Doors. Listen, one of the other things too, some of y'all going to back into the thing, or your teenager's going to hit it. Somebody's going to hit it. Don't freak out. It's a lot more fixable than it probably looks in the moment. Just let Mike, in an emergency, which is why I'm kind of tipping you off to this. You might not even be thinking about your garage door until something goes wrong. You need to know who to contact, and it's going to be Mike. I'm going to give you that website here in just a minute. So let them help. The smart technology now is amazing. I've talked about this quite a bit with them. You ever left the house and not knowing whether you locked the door or whether you shut the garage door? I've done that before. I look at the camera and go, dang, got to drive all the way back. Put a smart opener on there, and you can pull your phone out and close the door. Makes a whole lot of sense. And the newer systems are super quiet and efficient. You'd be surprised at how affordable this stuff is. And just get this kind of work done with the best. It's ProLift Garage Doors, proliftdoors.com. One word, proliftdoors.com. Y'all let Mike come take care of you. And keep that website. Remember that website, because if you do have an emergency situation, it can be unnerving. If you can't get a door closed and your house feels exposed, Mike will get right over there and take care of you. proliftdoors.com. Let me dive into this Nike story. I find this utterly fascinating. I started seeing Nike was going through a stock slide, and there are many companies that are being challenged right now. But the beginning of this slide, it was almost predictable, and I can just talk to you about it from a personal level. Let me just start back in the 80s. It's 1981, and I had never heard of Nike. Most people hadn't. And my best buddy, Terrence, he got a pair of canvas Nikes with that baby blue stripe. That was the first pair I'd ever seen. I was jealous. I was like, I gotta get some too. So he and I were bros. So I saved up my money and I cut some grass, and I paid $40, which seemed like a fortune in the early 80s. I was like in the 8th grade, and bought some Nikes. It was my first pair. I liked them so much. I was so brand specific. This is a true story. If I had time, I'd go get it and show you. I had this sort of 3-ring binder, and we were in high school, we draw on those things. Well, I just drew a perfect Nike logo and wrote it. 8th grade. I'm a Nike guy, and I hand painted it, made a Nike 3-ring binder. That was the beginning of me wearing Nikes for decades, until this thing happened. Until this Colin Kaepernick dude decided to insult the entire country by kneeling during our national anthem, trying to divide the company and the country. Now, every player's got a right to speak their mind and have their political beliefs, but Nike dove in with him and tried to make him some kind of hero, some kind of folk hero, and endorsed his campaign. And that was the beginning, a lot of PR experts believe, of Nike going down that woke road, like other companies who've suffered from it, and starting to do those things. That day, I declared I'd never buy another new pair of Nikes, and I still haven't. That's been, 6 or 7 years ago. I found some other really cool brands. The On brand has taken off too, challenging Nike because they've got some cooler, more developed styles. And so with certain groups of people, and my generation was the Nike generation. I know these young kids are shooting each other over basketball shoes still. That's been going on for years. But that's more about, thug culture and not really about the shoe itself. And they're cool. I mean, they've managed to keep a certain part of their demographic in this country that could care less about the political implications of all that stuff. And that was the prediction. It was like, Nike doesn't care about you, old mad white conservatives in America, because they're a worldwide brand. They're multi-billion. They're selling these shoes to Chinese people, and all this stuff came about. Now, the other thing about Nike is they make their shoes basically with Chinese slave labor. And you got Americans who abhor the history that this country has with the subject, will turn around and still wear shoes made by slaves. Kind of funny to me. Let's just let that ride for a minute. So what's going on with Nike is they've had a stock collapse, and as of yesterday, I haven't checked it today. I can pull it up real quick. Their stock had gone down to $39, and the slide of late has been precipitous. And that's today it closed at 40, so it was up about $1. That's an improvement. But over this 5-year period, they've gone from $180 on their market. Well, I know what their market cap is. I could figure that out here, but I'm too busy talking on the radio. So they're down to $40. Their stock has crashed. They're losing market share. They're losing reach. They're losing brand loyalty. They sort of stabbed themselves in the back with their older, sort of audience, and then they haven't kept the imaginations of the younger kids like they thought automatically they would, because they were the definition of cool for a long time. If you want to watch a cool story, the Michael Jordan movie Air, that tells the story about how his shoe came about and his incredible mom that helped him put that product together. It's a well done movie, and it tells it's an American business story. But man, they've squandered it. And the Kaepernick thing was just the beginning of it. They embraced a lot of just confrontational, offensive, stupid stuff. And just like I could go through a list of companies, not just Bud Light, Cracker Barrel trying to rebrand and spit on their own customers. I mean, it just keeps going. We've seen Tractor Supply go through this stuff. Harley Davidson's dealing with it right now. You've got other companies that go down this woke path, and the old saying, go woke and go broke, is starting to apply all over the place. You can find it in our industry too. Going back to the basics of business is probably the smarter thing to do for your shareholders. Make a good shoe, market it, and sell it. Quit preaching to the whole damn world about your values. They're frickin' shoes. They're not values. They're just stupid shoes. They don't make you run faster or jump higher. They don't do any of that stuff. They're just stupid shoes. They're not going to make your life better, and you're not more superior than somebody else because you have some. They're just dumbass shoes. It's just beer. It's just meat and three. I mean, they've got to realize where they are and not take a calculator and divide any number by half, and that's what they're doing. They're at least spitting on half their customers. Now, it's been a myriad of reasons as to Nike's slide, but it began, and I will submit to you, and many industry analysts are backing it up, when they went down this road with this dumb Kaepernick thing. They just chose to choose the world over being pro the country that built this thing, and now they're paying the price for it. It happens, and it's going to happen to all of them eventually. Just shut up and do business. How about that? Is that so hard? Is that so hard, Nike? But they're still out there, and they're still endorsing, and y'all will have them all over your football uniforms because they're still everywhere. It's still Nike. It's still a ubiquitous brand. But they're being upstaged all over the place by smarter shoe brands, and good for them. Danny Knowles, speaking of stocks and money and investment, Danny Knowles is with the Knowles Group. Danny can absolutely get you straight on where your money ought to be. They don't play the daily game. They don't play the panic game. They don't get too irrationally exuberant over a rising market, and they don't get down in the dumps when one goes down, because they've got a steady plan, and the steady plan is where you ought to be to keep your money on track too. We all know that, but do we have the discipline? Sometimes you need an expert. Most of the time you need an expert when it comes to this kind of retirement planning. Let Danny, who I've known his whole life, sit down with you, he and his team, and get you on a path, whether you're starting out, starting over, or already retired and you just want a pay raise. It's the KnowlesGroup.com, N-O-L-E-S, the KnowlesGroup.com. We'll be back here in just a minute. Leland Live, Talk 99.5. We'll get back on the phones too. 545-9950. Y'all stay tuned.